Hi chat, so we are back. We are going to be actually doing the Spooktober stream. So get ready, get your popcorn, get some snacks, get your drinks. We are going to be doing an insane, what's it called? Like the case. So this family was murdered on Halloween. It's the case of the Lisk family massacre. This is by Coffee House Crime. I'm going to link everything down below, like the YouTube channel, the actual original link and everything. I do not own this video at all, so I'm just making that known. But yeah, we're going to be reacting to it, and I also have my brother here with me. You want to say hi?
Hey chat.
Say hi to chat.
Hi chat.
So we are going to be reacting to it, chat, and yeah, let's get on with it.
Young teen in Ohio would return to his family home on the day of Halloween.
This case happened in Ohio, chat.
And while nothing seemed out of the ordinary at first, his afternoon would slowly progress into the worst kind of nightmare imaginable. My name is Adrian, and welcome back to Coffee House Crime. And happy Halloween to all of you. And I can assure you, there are no tricks or treats to this one. In today's case, we'll be looking into the lives and the struggles of the Lisk family, and how their world would be frighteningly torn apart on the 31st of October 2010. So grab a coffee, pull up a seat, and get cozy, my friend. This is the case of the Lisk family.
Lies. Do I need to put caps on, chat? Okay.
Today's video is sponsored by Shudder.
Alright chat, we're gonna skip
Shudder, which
the
is
little...
brought to you by AMC Networks,
yeah, the
offers
sponsorship.
an
We're going
unbeatable
to skip
select
that.
film based around a Zoom meeting. And if you prefer things a little more light-hearted, a personal favourite of mine to watch was One Cut of the Dead. Think Shaun of the Dead, but with its own very special Buckeye State of Ohio. And more
Alright chat,
specifically,
we are currently
North
in Ohio.
It borders on to one of America's largest lakes, adequately named for today's case, Lake Erie. A lake that is so massive...
Chat, I'm just going to pause it really quick. Have you guys ever heard of Lake Erie? Chat, Lake Erie, I don't know what it is, but there's bad energy there, chat. Like, Lake Erie is like one of the 5 greatest lakes or something like that. And not only was it on Ghost Adventures, Zach Bagans and his crew had actually like went there for paranormal activity. It was also in Scooby-Doo. I know it sounds like crazy, but in one of the movies in Scooby-Doo, like the IRL one, they actually went there, and there was like weird energy there, chat. So I don't know what's with Lake Erie, chat, but it's not a vibe. So
its shores span across 4 US states and
yes,
Canada.
One of the 5 Great Lakes, chat.
North Ohio is famous for many things. And despite severe weather being fairly common here, most of its alluring features include the outdoors. With beautiful lakes, open plains, and lush national parks, it's the perfect place for any outdoors person looking for a getaway. And you can also find Cedar Point to the north, the 2nd largest amusement park in the US. This, coupled with Lake Erie's holiday-esque atmosphere, makes Northern Ohio a great getaway for families. And a quick question.
Wait,
but why are
did
you
the
folks
family
obsessed with
go
giant
on a
baskets?
vacation to Lake Erie?
Unfortunately, in today's case, we won't be going to any amusement parks, or doing anything leisurely for that matter, as we head northwest into the sticks of Northern Ohio. Residing on the long, sparsely populated road of Route 2 in Martin, we find the household of the Lisk family. And here lived William Billy Lisk, and his wife, Susan Lisk, along with their 3 sons.
Okay, so the dad's name is
Both
Billy,
Devin and
and
Derek
then
Griffin were
Susan.
the children of Susan
they have
and her
3
previous
boys,
marriage.
right?
And child
Yes.
number 3 was William Lisk Jr., who was also from Billy's previous marriage. William, who was not so affectionately named BJ, no longer lived with the rest of the family under troubling circumstances.
So he
which
was
we
a
will get to
troublemaker.
very soon. The family had a relatively happy existence. They were religious country folk, the boys growing up and going to church every Sunday and singing in the church choir. One of the family's favourite pastimes, especially for Billy and his sons, was hunting. And the house in which they lived in wasn't so bad either. It was sat on 100 acres of land.
Hold on, chat. Mom takes.
Alright, chat, I'm back.
And the Lisk family would often use every inch of it for walking, hunting, and fishing.
Okay, so
Now, you
apparently
may or
they
may
were
not have
using
heard
it
of
for
the saying,
hunting and
every
fishing,
family has
chat.
its secrets.
I wonder
and
if
for the Lisks, that was no different. Although at a glance,
Billy's
life seemed to be
son
pretty
from the
pleasant,
previous
there
marriage
was a
is the
much
one
more
who
sinister
murdered
issue lurking
the
in
family
background.
because
And
he
this
was
is where
in a
we turn our
jumpsuit,
focus
chat.
to Billy Lisk
You have
and
any
his
theories
son,
on it?
William. Throughout
Not
William's
right
childhood,
now.
he would grow up as a very angry kid. He would often bully other children and cause fights and problems wherever he played. His parents took this as William just being a naughty child. He'll grow out of it, right? But moving into his teenage years, those doubts perpetuated. He would continue getting in trouble in school, and eventually with the law too. When William was 15 years of age, his father Billy would finally meet Susan. Billy worked at a waste management firm nearby, and Susan was an office manager of the same company. The two would eventually
Hi
hit it
guys,
off,
welcome to the
getting married
stream.
not
Don't forget
much
to drop
later
a
in
like on the
2001.
stream and also consider subbing.
And
It
although
is
they had
Spooktober,
happily
chat.
found love, their marriage would infuriate William.
Bro, he just
In
looks
fact,
disturbed.
he had a certain disdain for
No,
his
he
stepmother.
does. He does.
He hated her encroaching his home, and he hated her rules. The following year, a distressing call to law enforcement would be made by Billy over his son William, after he had threatened to harm himself. And this would mark the very beginning of a drastic decline in William's mental health
no.
and behavioural issues. He
Chat,
started to
he
become
murdered
more
the family,
reckless,
chat.
his anger more turbulent, and his actions more daring. Things would spiral so far that, in 2004, after yet another argument with his stepmother, the 17-year-old William would strike her hard in the chest, this resulting in William being charged with a felonious assault. William disliked his stepmother, this was no secret, and she was scared of him too. His violent outbursts and incessant lack of respect was very worrying. In fact, just 2 months after striking Susan in the chest, William would get into another argument with his stepmother, in which he bashed her with a coffee mug before stealing her car. Susan pressed charges against William, but it was to no avail.
All
Upon a
these
mental
charges
health
are getting
assessment,
pressed
William
against
would be deemed
him, but
unfit
why
for
is he
trial
still getting
and would be
released out of jail?
diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. This would eventually result in William being removed from the house by his father and placed into a group home for mental health patients in Sandusky, by the shore of Lake Erie. And although William was now receiving the treatments he so surely needed, he would continue to be a danger to those around him.
We don't
being involved
make
with the law
fun
3 times
of
during his
any
stay
type
in
of
the group
illness
house.
that anybody
One of
has,
those
but that would
instances being an
explain
all-out
why
brawl
he's
between
acting
William
like that.
and Billy.
But the problem is, if their case, if like their illness
When
is
William
so
returned
far
to the
in,
household after his
why would you let the
treatment,
patient
things
out?
did not get better, and
Or did
William
he
was still
escape,
on a
chat?
warpath. But the straw that broke the camel's back would fall in the autumn of 2004,
Oh no,
when William
chat.
was only 18 years old. It was early one morning, while Susan was taking a shower, that William entered the bathroom and attempted to attack her
where's
in
this
one of her
going?
most vulnerable states. And while Susan
She
did
was in
manage
the
to fend
shower,
her stepson
chat.
off, it left her traumatized. She now felt even less safe in her own home, and the event would also send Billy into an understandable rage against his son. By that very same evening, William was out on the streets, having been kicked out of the Lisk household by his father. And since William was no longer a minor, he would have to fend for himself from here on out. It was at this stage that William started growing even further apart from his family. And although he would live close by enough to visit them on occasions, arguments would still ensue. William's brothers and his stepmother didn't enjoy their time with him, and William was aware of that too. A few years would pass with this dynamic. All in the meanwhile, William was still being treated for a schizoaffective disorder. But treatment was intermittent, and often without full discipline. And one day, his therapist would deem him a danger to himself and others. William would eventually be hospitalized in the year of 2007, in order to be kept under surveillance for proper treatment of a schizoaffective disorder.
Chat, listen, if he's getting diagnosed, right, and he's being hospitalized, that don't mean he's taking his meds whenever they're being given to him, chat. That don't mean No, chat. Maybe it's because I've watched too many TV shows, chat, but they'll literally hide the pills under their tongue, they'll hide it in their pocket, and they'll throw it away. Like, imagine, chat, if he actually escaped this mental hospital and murdered his family on Halloween. We know he murdered his family on Halloween, but like, imagine that was what he did in order to murder his family. Was he didn't take his meds, he got to that state of mind where there's no coming back, and then he went on his rage, like his rampage.
And despite all of his grievances, Billy would still never give up on William. In fact, in order to get William out of hospital, Billy would apply for guardianship for his now adult son. His guardianship application said,
Chat, he applied for guardianship, chat. Chat, they're going to let him run amok, chat. Bro, what?
Stated, Mr. Lisk wants to protect William and to get him the help that he needs. He would eventually like to see him in a halfway house or a group home.
Okay, I am so sorry for pausing, but we're going to talk about this every step of the way. Okay, so if he's in a halfway house, right, chat? It's just like whenever the criminals they're assigned to a halfway house, they still have curfew. But I think if you run away from the halfway house or you don't show up on curfew, they actually put out a warrant for your arrest. But a group home, I don't know if it's the same thing. So maybe he actually got permission to take his son out of the mental hospital and he was placed in a group home, and that's how he was able to escape.
When William is on his medication, he does really good. After a while, he will stop taking it because he thinks he's okay.
No.
Starts drinking and smokes
my
pot.
Michael,
So soon
my
after
mic
this,
off the
this
whole
would
time.
become the family setup for the foreseeable future.
My mic was
William
off
would
the whole
officially
entire
stay
time.
at a halfway house, but he often visited his father at his father's home. The dynamic of the family was a very turbulent one, but it did keep William out of hospitalization, and so all family members just put up with it. But William would make his family and those around him extremely uncomfortable. And, even worse, neighbours around the family would one by one lose a family pet, often suspecting William of torturing and killing both local domestic animals and wildlife. And, psychologically speaking, this was a huge red flag over William's head. After all, some killers do tend to start with animals. In an effort to reduce his encounters with Susan and neighbours, Billy would often take his son William on long weekends to the family cabin, located in Carroll County, just a few hours southeast from their home back in North Ohio. And while the two were there, they would hunt deer and talk about William's struggles. But these trips would only temporarily distract William from the other half of his family that he disliked so much. And his mental health wasn't getting any better either. It was quite the opposite. It was actually getting worse. And while his behaviour was being kept in line, it wasn't necessarily being tamed. A realisation that, tragically, would come all too late. We're moving forward, and the date is now
Okay, class, who would like to do problem 3 on the board?
the 31st of of October 2010. Halloween. Autumn's days were now beginning to get cold. It was 44 degrees Fahrenheit or 7 degrees Celsius that day, and the rest of Ohio had trick-or-treats on their mind. It was around 9:30 in the morning that the 16-year-old Devin Griffin, who was stepbrother to William, returned back to the family home. He had stayed the night at his biological father's house.
Chat. I am so
Devin
tired
entered
of my
Billy's
mic being
household
off,
before
chat. I'm
proceeding
not
to his
even
room to
trolling
get
you.
changed.
I'm not
Despite
trolling you.
Halloween, it was still a
I am
Sunday,
not trolling you.
so he was due to be singing in the choir for his church's Sunday service. Devin changed his clothes before heading back downstairs towards the front door, and that is when he accidentally bumped into William.
The day
Which was
is
kind
just
of
so
odd,
bad,
because
chat.
William was not normally left alone in the house. Nevertheless, he noticed that the sofa had a made-up bed. The two briefly spoke before William asked Devin where he was going, and how long he thought he would be, and how he was getting there. And this was very uncharacteristic for William. He was often described as gloomy and slow. So why was he so talkative all of a sudden? And why did he seem happy? William almost always kept to himself, and Devin and William often did not see eye to eye.
Hi guys, welcome
But
to
Devin
the
brushed it
stream.
off,
My
gave William
mic
his
was off
answers,
for like
and carried on with
basically
the
most of the
Sunday
video.
service.
I'm so sorry, but we're going to be reacting to more, don't worry.
This week's Sunday service was not a short one. And after performing in the choir, Devin headed home, not returning until the early afternoon. The house was quiet, and William
Chat,
didn't
this is
seem
where
to
the
be
murder
around any
took
longer
place.
either.
I feel it in
But
my
maybe
bones.
everyone was just busy with their own Sunday plans.
What's your theory?
And
I
so,
think it was here
much
too,
like his
chat.
usual schedule, Devin headed
it was
straight
here.
upstairs to his
Falling
bedroom
asleep
to play
already, kid?
video games. A few hours would pass, and as daylight escaped, Devin removed his headset and made his way downstairs to the kitchen for a drink. This was when, amid the darkness, he realized that the house was still dead quiet. Out of confusion, Devin made his way to check for
no.
his parents in their bedroom.
The brother...
He opened the door to see that they were still in bed. His mother's foot poking out of the bottom of their maroon comforter. The duvet pulled over their
Oh my
heads.
gosh.
Devin walked up to the side of his mother's bed before calling her name and giving her a poke. But there was no response from her. He turned his
No,
attention to the top of the
chat.
duvet before pulling it down slowly. And as he did, that's when he saw a lot of red. His mother's pillow seemed to be covered in what appeared to be blood.
That is
Surely
so
this was
sad.
a joke. After all, it was Halloween, and his family were well known for getting into the spirit of things. But it wasn't until the scene came into focus for Devin that he could fully grasp what he was seeing. This was no prank. His mother wasn't moving, and the blood on her pillow was very real. The smell of copper came into play, as would the finer details of his
Oh
mother's
no.
corpse. Devin screamed, sprinting out of the bedroom and out of
So
the house.
she already
without
had been
looking
dead
his
for a
brother
little
Derek
bit.
or his stepbrother William. In his panicked state, Devin called his Aunt Laurie and tried to explain to her what he had just found. Laurie responded by calling 911, before rushing over to the Lisk household to comfort her distraught nephew.
We need
Chat.
an ambulance in.
I wonder how many...
Please. Where's the blood?
I wonder how many passed, chat.
In their house? In their bed? She said it's in their bed. Okay. Oh my God!
No, the sister walked in on...
Oh, Bill's in the bed. He's dead. He's got to be dead. Okay. Did it look like maybe he was shot? Oh, he's either shot or stabbed or something.
And as authorities arrived, they were faced with a very gruesome scene. Pulling back the covers in the master bedroom, they would reveal the bodies of Susan and Billy Lisk. Billy had been shot 5 times in the face,
5
still
times
lying
in the
position that he had
face?
fallen asleep in the night
Chat.
before.
So he was shot with a shotgun? Wide pellet range? Or was it like a 9mm? Like each shot?
And Susan had been shot 3 times in the head. But, unlike Billy, she was found sprawled under the covers, as if she had been moved. Forensics would find that she had been assaulted after her death.
What? Chat. assaulted after her death. Are you sick in the mind?
Upon further exploration of the house, police were halted by a locked door. A locked door that, when eventually opened, led to Derek Griffin's bedroom. And there they would find Derek, still curled up in his bed in a fetal position. He too had been murdered, suffering blunt force trauma to the head.
Bro, what?
He was murdered as well? What?
Bro, where's
Within the house, authorities would find a bloody claw hammer which matched the wounds and injuries sustained by Derek. It had been determined that, one by one, the family had been killed while they were sleeping peacefully in their beds. First Derek, and then his father, and finally Susan.
Chat, you know what's actually crazy? Whenever the coroner does their report, they can actually pinpoint the time frame from when the body was murdered, or like that nature, chat. It's actually insane.
Muddy footprints were found around the house, which led to a pond in the back garden. At first, police suspected the gun used to kill Susan and Billy could have been disposed of in that pond, but once it was drained, they found nothing. And neighbours, who were interviewed by police, would reveal that they had heard what they thought to be gunshots at around 6:30 on the morning of Halloween. But with this being a rural area, they thought nothing of it. Terrifyingly, these reports suggested that when Devon returned back to the house that morning before going to choir, his family had already been murdered. Their lifeless bodies just on the other side of his bedroom
so sad,
wall
chat.
while he changed
Oh my
and
goodness.
left for church. And even worse, they were still there when he returned later that day, playing video games, deafened by a headset, in a dark house. The events that unfolded on Halloween of 2010 left a lot for the devastated Devon and Laurie to process. But it also raised one alarming question. Where was William?
Bro,
Is he smiling?
bro. Michael, tell chat what you feel right now. Tell chat. Come on.
Chat, listen.
You have to get up to the mic.
Listen. If you're smiling during your court trial, oh, you're crazy. You're a psychopath.
Chat, listen here, chat. Listen. That is the smile of a crooked killer maniac. No, like, actually, chat. Do you see him? He's up to literally no good. Bro, he has the Dr. Doofenshmirtz nozzle. The nozzle, you understand? Does he not? Does he not? He's up to no good, chat. He has a Dr. Doofenshmirtz face, chat, of a diabolical psychopath. Chat, am I wrong?
Shrinkinator.
Bro, am I wrong or am I right? Chat, listen here. He is smiling.
Why does he kind of look like clips on the side? I'm not even-
Chat, he is literally smiling during his trial.
Devon had already spoken to him in the
Crazy
house
accusation.
that morning, a time frame which was believed to be after his family were killed. And the suspicion continued to grow. In fact, on her initial 911 call to police, Laurie had already highlighted William's name, stating,
His son DJ was here last night. They were going to go hunting. They've had a lot of trouble with him, with the law.
So they already knew it was him.
Threatened Susie before.
Laurie would also tell police officers that the family vehicle, a Ford F-150, was missing from the property. And therefore, with a missing brother, a missing car, and a troubled history, William became the police's primary suspect. And it wouldn't take police long to find him either. He was actually back at the family cabin 170 miles
what?
away in Carroll County, where he had been on
He
vacation
drove
with his
all
father
the way
not even
170
48 hours
miles
prior.
out back to Carroll
And on
County,
his
back
way,
to the family
surveillance
cabin,
footage captured
chat.
him at a Subway grabbing a sandwich.
He,
He was fine.
At Subway. Grab
Broski.
sandwich.
broski, listen, chat.
Wait, no, wait for it.
He just murdered his family, and he's just thinking to himself, "Hey, yeah, I'm kind of hungry, bro. Let me go cop a sandwich. Let me go cop a sandwich real quick from Subway, bro. Are you nuts or are you
Finally
nuts?"
found on the porch of his cabin by Carroll County deputies.
On the porch
with a
is
cigarette
actually
in his mouth,
diabolical, with a
the
cigarette in his
sandwich
mouth.
not yet eaten into. William was initially charged with only 1 count of murder, and this was so that the county could hold him until he could be seen by a jury. And the following month, in November of 2010, that day would finally come, where he was charged with not 3, but 6 counts of aggravated murder.
Heck yeah!
Where he would plead not guilty to all charges.
Wait, 6 counts.
William was then held in Ottawa County Jail with a bond set for $3 million.
$3 million, chat. He would have to put down like 300,000, I think.
Accepting capital punishment,
or no.
William knew that the death penalty was an all too real possibility. And so, not surprisingly, William changed his plea to guilty in his pre-trial hearing, accepting his guilt to 3 counts of aggravated murder in exchange that the death penalty would be removed from his possible sentences.
Chat. This is what the criminals do, like literally. They get given like the fact that, oh, if you take this plea deal, yeah, if you plead guilty, then death.
If you plead guilty, they pity you and they remove death sentence.
Yeah, chat. We don't play that here in Texas.
Nah, if you
get capital, you're getting death row. Yeah, that's just like point blank facts.
If you have a chance of death sentence, they're gonna give you death sentence.
No, they're going. No, like literally, chat. Texas don't play like that. Like if you do capital murder, your butt's going on death row, chat.
Capital murder,
bro, you're done.
Jury, there is no judge. There is no pleading guilty. You're dead. You're done. You're chopped.
Bro, you're chopped.
And you probably already chopped to begin.
William was eventually found guilty and sentenced to 3 life sentences in prison.
Bro, he was sentenced to 3 life sentences.
At his sentencing,
look at the family, chat. That is so sad.
Look at how she's looking at him, bro. That is terrible, bro.
Chat.
Would apologize for killing his family members, blaming his mental illness and even Satan for his actions.
Bro, what?
He was soon after shipped off to Ross Correctional Institution in Chillicothe to live out the rest of his life behind bars. However, it would seem that the death penalty had eventually found William, because in March of 2015,
he committed.
At the young age of 29, William was found dead in a cell from a self-inflicted wound. It seemed as if the last life that he would take would ultimately be his own.
So, chat, do you guys think he took the easy way out, chat?
I think he did.
I think he did because he didn't want to serve his punishment, chat.
Me personally, I thought somebody killed him.
Usually, homicide cases that involve mental health disorders will also highlight a story that lacks proper treatment or regulation of medication. And this story, it's no different. It's evident that William had trouble keeping discipline with his medication.
No, like literally. I understand he had mental illness, but without the proper medication, without the proper treatment, and with his dad like asking permission to take him out of the mental hospital without getting him better, chat. I think that's also what played a big part of it. I am not defending him at all, but I am saying his mental illness was up there, chat. Like, he needed severe help, and I don't think taking him out of that mental hospital did any type of help towards him, chat.
Despite those around him.
Chat, so that was the family murdered on Halloween, the case of the Lisk family massacre. Shout out to Coffee House Crime. If you guys aren't subbed to them, then I don't know what the heck you're doing, because it's actually pretty good.
Bro, he's mad good at what he does.
No, facts. Chat, should we do another Coffee House Crime chat?
And he's British too, so it makes it 10 times better.
Indeed. Let me see.
Wait, is that the bodybuilder? I think, right?
Wait, the celebrity bodybuilder couple that chose murder and said.
I think that was the one that I think we've seen it.
No, that was the other one.
Killer Sally.
Chat, have y'all ever watched Killer Sally on Netflix? It was like a limited time series. It was actually pretty insane.
Bro.
It was insane. But, chat, you have to come up with your own theories. I don't know what you guys would think, but you have to come up with your own theories.
Yeah, because in the end, they really don't know what happened.
Facts. Chat, we are going to react to... Chat, have you guys... Oh my gosh. This one is insane. I can't play it because Michael's here. I would probably have to do this one later, chat. But let me see here.
You can do this one tomorrow and then we'll just go and read.
Which one should we do, chat? Which one?
To be honest, it's gotta be like kind of crazy.
Bro, he turned his victims into barbecue pork.
Excuse me?
Turn your
Chat. We're going to react to this one, chat.
low energy into big fitness
Oh my
energy at Planet
gosh,
Fitness.
chat.
Join today for $1.
Sometime.
Alright, chat. So we are going to react to this last one. It is called He Turned His Victims into Barbecue Pork, quote unquote, The Horrors of Henry Chow. So I'm going to go ahead and like this. This is also by Coffee House Crime. I will link his channel down below and also this original link down below. So yeah, we're going to get into this. Chat, this looks scary, chat.
The expectations of your parents can be a heavy load to bear. Some of us may rise to the challenge, while others descend into a spiraling path of failure. However, what if this spiraling path came to a dark and grisly end? Henry Chow's story was one of those. He was a consistent failure, and never managed.
Eyebrows? Your eyebrows are chilling.
Chat, listen. The turtleneck is going insane right now, chat.
The hair?
There's no riz. There's no riz with that hairdo, chat. There's no riz at all.
Eyebrows?
managed to achieve anything of value in nearly 30 years of his life. But how did this man react to the pressures of his parents? And how did his action...
Okay, chat. I will say one thing. It is very stereotypical of, like, Asian parents, like, putting a lot of pressure on their kids, chat. It is very stereotypical. Like, I know for... in our household, my mama, she is very understanding and she doesn't pressure us to do anything that we don't want to do. She's just built different, chat, so we love her to death, love her to the moon and back. She is a very supportive mama. But like in some strict Asian households, the parents do hold a lot of pressure over the kid, chat, with grades, with being the best, with grades, being the best at everything, being the best at the sports, being the best at playing chess, being the best at a baking competition, chat. That's just how, like, that's how people perceive Asian parents to be, chat. So, he's not lying.
Shock an entire nation.
Chat, it shocked an entire nation.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, folks. My name is Adrian, and welcome back to Coffee House Crime. Now, today we're looking at the strange case of Henry Chow. Now, I don't normally feel the need to put a trigger warning at the beginning of a video. However, I'm going to make an exception for this one, so you have been warned. You know, it's quite strange how I find cases these days. I came across this one while researching the case of Abby Choi. As you'll find out, the stories are remarkably the same. Before we begin, did you know that I post true crime and strange cases here weekly? So if that does sound like your kind of thing,
Chat, if you
please
guys
consider
don't watch
subscribing to the channel. It really does
which
help
is
me
Explore
out.
with
And
us,
now, as
or
always,
Coffee
with that
House Crime,
said,
I don't know what y'all are
please
doing.
grab yourself a coffee, pull up a seat, and get ready for the deep dive. This is the case of Henry Chow.
And Coffee House Crime is also crazy.
Today, we're heading back to a fairly familiar location, and that is the special city of Hong Kong. Hong Kong, known
Chat, we are
locally as
in
Shangan
Hong Kong,
Teddy is a very unique nation, comprised of various small islands. The once British Crown-owned region boasts various incredible and interesting
you that
features,
shocked right now?
and with a population of around 7.4 million residents in a 400 square mile area, it is one of the most densely populated cities in the world. Now, Hong Kong's existence is remarkably unique. In 1997, the region became separated from the mainland of China, running the mantra of one country, two systems. This separation gave Hong Kong the freedom of autonomy over all matters outside of foreign and defense affairs, at least until the year 2047. With the main administrative center being found in Victoria, it also plays host to being the major trade and financial center of the region, as well as being a highly popular harbor. Taking the Star Ferry between the various islands allows you to soak up the unique atmosphere here, which is often described as being where the West meets the East. For reference, think Chinese food and Mickey Mouse all in the same region. Some other unique features include a Disneyland theme park, the Temple Street Night Market, Causeway Bay, and Repulse Bay, which is a crescent moon-shaped beach that tourists flock to in the warmer weather.
Chat, would
now,
you guys
of
ever
course, all of this
vacation in
fascinating
China? Let me
scenery
know
is
down in the
best
chat.
observed above the skyline. And let me tell you, there are plenty of options when it comes to rooftop bars.
Chat, I'd rather go to
Anyway,
South Korea,
it is
chat.
here in Hong Kong that we find the antagonist of our story, and the name today is Henry Chow Hoi Liang. Born on June the 7th,
Alright, chat. His name is Henry Chow Hoi Yang. Born on June the 7th,
1983. Henry was the second son of Glory Chow Wing Ki and Moon Sui Yuit Yi. Now, not much is publicly known about Glory's and Moon's past, but they'd been married for many years and were aged 65 and 63 during the events of today's case. And the family of four, including Henry's older brother, lived together in an apartment in Sai Ying Pun. Henry's childhood was largely unremarkable. However, it is noted that his parents supported him to the very best of their abilities. They even paid for his private tuition and his piano lessons. However, it does seem that none of these things were actually what Henry wanted for himself. Even from a very young age, he was often described as living in his own world, and by the time secondary school came around, he barely had any friends and began to fail school. Of course, this was an extreme disappointment to his parents, and when he began to fail his school grades, they decided—
Chat, this is what I was talking about with like pressure. The grades have to be like straight A's. You have to be the best at everything. This is what I was talking about. So he dropped out of school because he didn't want to do any of his schoolwork, and he began feeling like he just didn't want to do it anymore. He just gave up. Yeah, he just gave up.
To step in to do something about it. In a fresh bid to provide a life with education, Henry was sent to Canberra in Australia to start a new course in actuarial mathematics.
Chat.
Interesting side note, but something I found out recently. Did you know that Canberra State is actually in the shape of a parrot? Kind of funny, right? Anyway, it seems that this venture was also destined for failure, as over time, Henry became the subject to a lot of bullying and discrimination. And eventually, the mental strain caused by this harassment, alongside his failure to do well at school, forced him to drop out in the year 2003. After dropping out, he returned to Hong Kong where he lied to his parents, telling them that he had successfully graduated. However, as you can likely imagine, it didn't actually take long for Glory or Moon to figure out the truth. They were understandably incredibly disappointed in their son, and even attempted to get him back into education, doing this by forcing him to attend a university in Hong Kong. This attempt, though, was once again turned into yet another failure, and after this, he became withdrawn and turned to the world of online gaming, which appeared to be the only place he reportedly felt any sort of respect. He managed to maintain a small circle of friends here, but would often talk about very worrying topics with them. This included telling them that he believed he was a psychopath, and across most of his
Chat, he told his squad, chat, in the gaming world that he's a psychopath.
Why would you say?
He told his squad chat. He's like he's in the queue chat. He's just readying up for another lobby. He's a
psychopath.
He's in the queue. He's like, bro, I'm a psychopath. I just found out today, bro. That's what I feel. Chat, what?
social media, he used an image of Adolf Hitler. Now, academia was not the only thing that Henry underperformed in his life either. To put things short, he was a miserable partner, losing any sort of girlfriend he had. And as you can likely imagine, this was due to his lack of compassion and care. After getting one of those girlfriends pregnant, and upon finding out, he told her to terminate her pregnancy. The young woman refused, however, and chose to keep the baby instead. And in typical old Henry fashion, instead of stepping up to the mark to help raise the child, he cut all ties with the mother and decided to have nothing to do with either of them ever again. Drifting in and out of various jobs, Henry failed to keep one for more than a few weeks at a time. He would either be fired due to his performance, or he would randomly quit on the spot. In fact, the only job that Henry could nail down was his own role as a pianist, though he would never want his parents to know that. Anyway, it was during one of those jobs in the year 2007 that Henry met someone who is rather important to our story today, and his name is Angus Tse Chin K.
So Bespoke Post, they just send you a cool box every month.
Whoa.
The value of every box is at least around $70, if not more. It's a pretty smoking deal. You're getting a month.
I skipped it, chat.
Angus,
I skipped it.
who was aged 35, was a Macanese man who is often described as a gentle and pure soul. Unfortunately though, he wasn't academically gifted, and when compared to Henry's relatively high IQ of 126, Angus sat at a low-ranging 84. Friends would often comment that Angus was easily manipulated and would happily do what others wanted in exchange for friendship or good food. He wasn't romantically fortunate either. The first girlfriend he had tragically died while they were still together, and when he eventually married his first wife, on their wedding night she confessed that she'd only used him to obtain a Hong Kong citizenship. Side note.
Bro,
She said she used him, chat, to just literally obtain a Hong Kong citizenship, chat. Chat, that is diabolical, chat. Diabolical.
Which, by the way, she was already married too. Anyway, he eventually
She was already married!
bro.
moved to New Zealand, where he then fell in love with another woman. However, in a rather cruel twist of fate, she left him high and dry after scamming him out of all of his money, this eventually forcing him to return to Hong Kong in 2010. The heartbreak and betrayal played heavily on his mind, and sadly, over the next few years, Angus made several attempts to take his own life. Now, all 3 attempts were unsuccessful.
Wait, so the woman who he had married, right, chat, took him for all of his money. So does that mean that's why he killed his parents? So I don't know how the life insurance policy works over there in Hong Kong, but since he was one of the sons, chat, or was he the only son?
Only son.
Chat, since he was the only son, wouldn't he get the money from both parents if they were to pass away?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, chat, diabolical.
However, it did come at a price. And after swallowing mercury, he suffered a permanent change to his mental health, and was never—
Swallowing mercury?
Bro.
Okay,
Listen.
Mercury is extremely dangerous, chat, okay? If you touch mercury, then I think that you can get cancer from it or something. But if you touch mercury, it's really bad for your health. Like, extremely bad. I don't even know how he swallowed that and survived.
No, chat, I don't even know how he got his hands on it.
never quite the same again. Dwindling mental health can be a devastating thing to experience, and as a lot of us will know, those who experience it will be left feeling helpless and vulnerable. Now, there are various things you can do in this situation, ranging from constructive things like therapy and antidepressants, all the way down to destructive things like drugs and alcohol abuse. During this time frame, Angus was down on his luck, and his way of coping was by grasping at anything or anyone that made him feel happy. The problem is, people can inherently be selfish, and not everyone should be trusted. And unfortunately for Angus, this was very much the case for his friend Henry. By the end of 2012, Henry had found himself in a rather large amount of debt. He had done well to stick to his usual mantra of failure too, and unemployment aside, he had lost even more money after making several poor investments. Up until this point in time, he mostly survived off the love and money that his parents gave him. However, this didn't stop him from indulging in his own lavish lifestyle too, and despite no income, he continued to eat good food and buy himself many expensive outfits. To add to this, Henry was often described by others as taciturn and pretentious. He often looked down on other people, scoffing and abusing those who seemed to be of lower class or taste. Growing tired of the situation and wanting to have a life of their own, both Glory and Moon had long encouraged Henry to find a job so he could move out. However, with frequent pushback from their son, tension between the man-child and his parents started to rise over time. By the year 2013, arguments were frequently erupting in the household, and this was for very obvious reasons too. But short, Henry was an absolute leech, and his parents were frustrated but too giving all the same. All of this came to a boiling point in February 2013 when another huge argument broke out, and this one was caused by a very strange request from Henry. He suggested that his parents should sell their flats and split the money 3 ways, 1/3 going to him, 1/3 to his brother, and the other 1/3 to themselves. Now obviously the couple said no. They were reaching retirement soon and had their own plans to relax and kick back. They had grown fed up with his bullshit, and in this moment they asked him to move out of the property. And as you can likely imagine, this went down like a ton of bricks with Henry. In response, he stormed out of the property never to return again, and also cut all contact with his family. It's unknown where he stayed during this time frame, but in the following weeks he began to plot a very devious scheme. And this scheme would leave Hong Kong reeling with shock and horror.
Chat, he
March
said
15th,
reeling with shock and
2013.
horror.
It was
March
during the
15th,
early morning that
2013.
police were scrambled to a
Morning
family
time,
home in the
police were
suburbs
scrambled
of
to
Hong
a
Kong.
family
Following
home
a
of the
tip-off,
suburbs
they were
of Hong
keen to
Kong.
arrest a
Oh,
man in his
no.
late 20s who lived at the property. A chilling confession over a WhatsApp group chat had prompted this so-called tip. The confession described the actions of a man who had just murdered his own parents. And shortly after their first arrest, a second arrest was made too. If you hadn't guessed already, the two to be arrested this morning were Henry Chow and Angus Tsay. And as for the confession, it was from none other than Henry himself. With the concerning messages in mind, police proceeded
so
to search
both
the
of them got
apartment. Trying not to
arrested.
laugh at the names here, but located on Phuc Chak Street in Tai Kok Tsui, the property belonged to his friend Angus. And immediately after entering the home, they knew that something was very, very wrong. Bloodstains covered the floors and walls. Trash bags were found filled with cement and sand, and various weapons were spotted throughout the property, this including a saw and 7 knives. However, all of these terrifying clues were nothing compared to what they would find next. Inside the microwave, inspectors saw a thick layer of yellow grease. This was coupled with an overpowering smell of cooked meat. And after opening one of the trash bags, they realized what was cooking, as this bag was filled with severed human limbs.
Oh my.
Chat, sweeties, listen here. What? Did you just hear what this man just said, chat? He cooked their limbs, their severed limbs, chat. What?
Before carrying on with our case today, we must first wind the clocks back to 2 months prior. And it's here that we find ourselves at the beginning of Henry's evil plan. After storming out of his parents' property, Henry failed to understand them. In his mind, he was entitled to their estate, and he further believed that they were accountable for all of the failures in his life too. Henry believed that, following all of these arguments, too much had happened between them. Way too much emotional disparity existed now, and for that, they needed to die. This would be something that investigators later learned from him, but Henry believed that, if he could resolve the emotional connection between him and his parents by killing them, he could finally be reborn. It was at this moment that Henry manipulated his friend Angus to help in his evil scheme. Given his kindly but easily manipulated nature, it wasn't
so it
actually
wasn't
that
just
difficult
one,
either.
it was both.
But
It was him
just
and
to make
Angus.
sure, he promised to kill Angus's mother should he deny his request. In the months leading up to this fateful day, Henry made several purchases. This included almost a dozen knives, a microwave, a cooker, and of course, 2 new fridges. And what he planned for his parents on March the 1st was a horror beyond all comprehension.
Chat, just ballpark. What do you think's in those refrigerators? Just a ballpark, chat. What do you think's in there? It was wrapped with saran wrap, chat. What do you think's in there, chat? Let me know.
I saw war. I saw bombing. I saw.
This case is awfully too simple.
6 days had
To what?
passed, and Henry's older brother was beginning to grow concerned.
Why would you say it's
He hadn't
similar?
heard from his parents
That
in
makes no
almost
sense.
a week now, which was very unusual. Henry tried to reassure his brother. Perhaps Glory and Moon had simply gone on holiday to China. But Hoi Ying was rather skeptical about this idea. The situation seemed too strange. And so, with this in mind, he therefore reported their disappearance to the police. As the authorities began their investigation, they found no evidence of them ever departing the city, which did nothing but raise further eyebrows. Something seemed to be very wrong. As a result, the brothers created missing persons campaigns on social media, pleading for any information on their whereabouts. It was
Bro, they're over here doing Evil Knievel horror plots with refrigerators, baking severed limbs in a microwave, and they're over here also doing a Two-Face moment, posting it on social media that their parents are missing and whatnot. Like,
It is
what?
that the last time they were seen was around March the 1st,
No, like, actually.
near Langham Place in Mongkok. Henry would even reach out to Apple Daily, where he made a public appeal for help. However, none of these campaigns were successful in finding Moon or Glory. And 9 days later, on March the 15th, the reason for their silence became all too clear. Officers searching the flat found themselves in the middle of a nightmarish scene. A bin bag that they had just searched contained multiple human limbs. The microwave was covered with human grease. And perhaps the strangest part to all of this, but more than 600 styrofoam lunchboxes were found in the apartment. All of them contained the salted and cooked meat of Glory and Moon. And upon searching both fridges, both of their heads were found within. A notepad was discovered underneath Angus's mattress.
Oh my gosh, chat. Chat,
what is this?
Inside, the pages detailed messy notes on how to dispose of their bodies, and a shopping list of the items that were required. He wrote down how he was going to dispose of their bodies, chat. That their bones were to be covered in sand and cement before eventually being thrown into the sea. And as for the unaccounted body parts, well, it is speculated that they had been cooked and then eaten. Moving into the legal proceedings of this case, and as you can likely imagine, both Henry and Angus were held in custody until their trials began. This was scheduled for August of 2014, but would have to be restarted in February 2015 after 2 jury members were forced to drop out. During his trial, psychologists attempted to shed light on the troubled workings of Henry's mind. It was highlighted that, in the month leading up to the murders, he had repeatedly been listening to Vers la Flamme to psych himself up. One psychologist explained that his actions were heavily influenced by this music, citing, "The music intensified the images of fire and flame in his mind. He believed that the world was going to end, and he could not get away from it." One of the most interesting things about covering international cases is seeing how the justice system varies between countries. And in this instance, I don't think this sort of bullshit would stand up in a Western court. Anyway, in a much more credible manner, psychologists also claimed that Henry was suffering from bipolar disorder and OCD. Now, in my mind, these things are much more influential to his case and the verdict. At least more influential than the type of music he was listening to. However, after a second psychological examination, both of these things were ruled out, and instead they were replaced with a personality disorder and extreme narcissism. Henry would eventually confess that, had he gotten away with his murderous actions, both he and Angus would have fled to mainland China to embark on a killing spree. Apparently, they were planning to assault and kill prostitutes or random women. Both men had 2 very different versions of events when it came to the murders of Glory and Moon. True to his form, Henry never took full responsibility for his actions, and instead he tried to lay some of the blame on Angus. He further claimed that, after he lured his parents to the flat, Angus slit Moon's throat, while Henry stabbed his father in the back of the neck before also cutting his throat. Henry also claimed that he injured his leg during their murders, therefore requiring stitches. This left Angus with the bodies while he sought medical help. Upon returning to the flat, Henry claimed that Angus had already dismembered and butchered his parents' bodies, therefore absolving Henry of any blame when it came to mutilation. To add to this, he even attempted to frame his friend by placing his notebook under his bed. However, handwriting analysis would eventually confirm that Henry was in fact the author. However, Angus's story was very different to Henry's version of events. You see, Angus claimed that Henry must have killed his parents way before he arrived at the apartment. Apparently, Angus was out of the flat until March the 4th, which would have been 3 days after the fact. He further claimed that he was terrified for his mother's life after Henry threatened to kill her, and that was the reason he agreed to dispose of the bodies. Now, of course, this is all still very gravely illegal, but Angus insisted that he had no part in actually murdering Glory or Moon. Anyway, it seems that both physical evidence and the testimonies available were enough to persuade the judge and jury in Angus's favour. A major contributing factor to their decision was the large gap in IQ between the 2 men, as well as Angus's glowing character testimony from both friends and family. This was in stark contrast to Henry, who the judge described as a narcissist who was preoccupied with fantasies for success. He further commented that he had no feelings.
He has like this high illness of narcissism, and he's like egotistical, so he already thinks he already thinks he's him, chat.
For other people, and brushed off Henry's claims that the murders were a snap decision in the heat of an emotional moment. The judge also
basically
highlighted
another
their
person.
crime was greatly premeditated and their planning was extensive.
kind of like-
No,
Their
that's
preparation gathered pace in January and February,
ADD
and on March the
is
1st
like
last
ADHD.
year,
Like,
they
you
carried
can't
out the
focus on
killings
one
as they had
thing.
planned. Text
ADD
messages
is
sent by
personality
Henry to his
disorder.
friends further weighed into his overwhelming guilt. In these messages, he claimed that he was a psychopath. I cannot empathize with the normal person's pain because of the experience of my childhood and adolescence. My process of emotion is very different from a normal person. On March the 20th, 2015, a verdict was finally reached. Henry Chow was found guilty of the double murder of his parents, whereas Angus Tse was found not guilty. Both men
What?
were separately
He
found
helped!
guilty of preventing the lawful burial of the body, and both received separate sentences because of this. Henry Chow was sentenced to life in prison, plus an additional 9 years and 4 months. This was very different to Angus's, who was sentenced to 1 year for the prevention of the lawful burial of a body. Interesting side note here, but Angus had already served 2 years in prison while awaiting his trial, and was therefore way overdue his release. He was therefore allowed back into the real world immediately. As for Henry, the judge's closing statement was, "People may wonder why you did this. The fact that there is no obvious answer is what makes you so dangerous," which is quite true in my opinion. There was no plausible reason to kill his own mother and father. Henry is a selfish monster through and through, and now he must pay for his actions for the rest of his life. Glory and Moon wanted nothing more than to see their own son grow up to be a successful
R.I.P.
and happy
chat.
man. But
They
instead,
seemed like-
they had to witness Henry make
Yeah.
one poor decision after
look
another,
like nice people,
despite
chat.
all their guidance and advice. For that, I can fully see why they were disappointed. Whilst there is nothing wrong with the aim of being content through a simple life, Henry made a huge mistake in believing it was okay to take advantage of his own parents. Even worse, he saw them as expendable objects, right to the point of termination.
But in reality, they were.
It's a bit of a shit story, really. I think I feel most sorry for Henry's
Chat,
brother.
so shout out
as now he
to
must live the
Coffee
rest
House
of his
Crime
life
Chat.
without
This
his
one was
parents,
really, really creepy.
all while knowing that Henry was the one that took them away.
It is
I
currently
hope that he's
2:08
found
in the
peace
morning,
after
chat
these
Central
horrific
Time.
events.
I'm
And
going to go
as for
ahead
Angus,
and
I hope he's
end
managed-
this stream chat. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us for the spooky stream chat, and I will see you guys later on tonight. Bye!